Does Restream recognize it? Yes. Does Twitch recognize it? I'm actually gonna listen in somewhere just to make sure. Hello? I don't hear audio from there. Okay, I'm getting YouTube. Does Twitch recognize it? Right. I can't really check the sound without Twitch. Actually, if I pause the music, then I can check if the music is coming through on the stream somewhere just to... Okay, it's background. That's how it should be. And Twitch isn't there yet. Maybe it is, maybe... Yeah, okay. So, welcome to Code Hangout 244, not 43. Not 244. Not 243. Sorry about that. Where I'm gonna look into creating an offline app. Hey Keith, how you doing? You're always there exactly on time, and I appreciate that. I'm much better. I'm still a bit. It's weird. It's like in the evening I start getting like a ticklish throat kind of cough, and then it stops me from sleeping properly because I have to like get coughing fits and stuff. But during the day I'm not too bad. But it's dragging on, and my girlfriend got sick in the meantime, so that's not great. Oh well. Okay, so I thought I was because I've been talking about this for years, and I've been thinking about it for years, but I've never actually looked too deeply into it. I've looked into it briefly like many years ago, long before Sudoku. But there used to be a method of creating an offline web app where you basically... There was a bunch of aspects to it. So you had a manifest file, which basically told the browser which files to hold on to and load locally. And then there were some mechanisms to decide when to reload and when to not reload and stuff. And since Sudoku basically is a one-page application, in theory, it shouldn't be too hard to make it offline. So this stream is going to be a little bit of a research stream. So I'm just going to Google offline web app, and I'm just going to start from the basics. Thank you. And I might actually just create like a complete separate test project first. Yeah, so these are kind of the aspects. Load as resources in advance, which is fine. Handle own navigation because we don't have navigation, so we don't care. Validate for the web browser client. Handle its own data storage and retrieval. We're kind of doing that. Not attempt to make requests outside. Yeah, so we need to a little bit streamline kind of when we load data, but we kind of do it only on the start. Many people consider... Okay. Informs as an interest attempt built off a web browser. Every web page can be fully offline. So offline forms. Okay, so this is somebody's dev project. All right. Google for the first web, but going offline. All right. So let's look at the sort of default standard. Hey, Sam D2660. Yeah, I mean everything I do is over HTTPS. Is my local host over HTTPS? Is it? No. I might have to set up a local thingamajig. There might be a way, sort of testing progressive web app on local host. Okay, so I guess it does not give good scores. Oh, I know, yeah, okay, like no server. All right, PWA demo app. Like I want like a minimal demo app that I can just run locally just to. That's probably more complex what I want. Can I? Well, I mean, it's like something somebody put some efforts into. Now, this one has a server, which I don't really need, do I? Or is it just the server that serves the app? Okay, so it's kind of, yeah, so I don't even need that. So I don't even need that because I don't currently have a user database and so on. All right, let's see what DevDocs has to say. PWA. Progressive. No. Web APIs. Oh my god. That's a lot of stuff. I know we need service workers. We probably need server events or something like that. Let's see what... Okay, that's not a good sign that that hasn't loaded yet. Going offline. Oh, okay, that's a Google like little thingamajig. Can I just do MDN PWA? Like, because I don't know if there's a proper standard for it, right? And I don't know, because it needs to kind of work on Safari as well. Well, we'll see, we'll see. PWA reference. So is there a API, client, browser channel, offline operation, cache clients? Yeah. Okay, I know all these things have to happen. Am I? I'm already here. Because there's a whole bunch of APIs involved, right? Like, do we have an example? Progressive, is that the same page here? That right? Is that just this again? I think so. Okay. Progressive Web App is an app that builds using web platform technologies, blah, blah, users offline here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand. I understand how to. The PWA, how to create a standalone app. How to specify PWA should be launched in a dedicated window when it is launched. Yeah, I don't even care about any of this stuff yet. Creating your first PWA. Okay. Is that an example? Novice level. Yes, please. I don't even want to make it installable. I don't care about that. I don't care about application icons. I just want to have an offline website. App issue, line by line, explanation of the assurance and the content of the websites. Okay. Can we get into it? All right, I'm gonna make a little thing. So let's call it a PWA demo, right? Right. I have index.html. And then here we're just gonna open folder. PWA. Let's open this one as well. If I've looked into this in the past, maybe it behooves myself to review what I've done in the past. So there is a PWA already that I started on. I don't know. Okay, so I looked into a couple of things, obviously, already. So I looked into running the HTTPS local server. Yeah, I don't even need offline workers because Sudokuped is already a client-only single-site thing. What I need to prevent is I need to make sure that a browser will not just suddenly decide to reload the page and then fail. So if somebody's on the plane, because right now people like while I'm doing this research, I got an email, somebody saying, okay, I've opened a bunch of tabs of different puzzles in preparation for playing them on the plane, and then suddenly the puzzles don't work. And I know that certain browsers, under certain circumstances, you know, maybe related to battery or whatever, or for no reason whatsoever, might just suddenly decide to refresh the page. And then suddenly it'll break, right? So I need a way of stopping that, basically, initially, now. And then the second step is, you know... Aw. All right, so I don't remember how far I got. I obviously created certificates, so let's see if that works. If I do start, it does this on 8080. Let's just see what I did. And oh my god, how long ago did I do this? Okay, so we have something here, right? PWA Sudokuped. I did this in 2024, April, so almost 2 years ago. All right, fair enough. So what does it do? It serves www. www has an index HTML. It creates a service worker. Controller change. I don't know why I care about that. Like, I don't know if I copied a demo or if I started building something. I literally have no memory of this. The fact that they're icons, okay, but they're my icons. HTMX, I don't care. I don't know why I would have included HTMX. What is HTMX? HTMX, is that some sort of... Okay, so I must have looked at something and said, oh, I don't know, let's try this. I didn't install them with an npm. So, okay, I'll probably said, oh, let me start from scratch, let me try this. And then I got probably sidetracked thanks to ADHD. So we have this. I mean, the icons are probably some stupid requirements and whatnot, right? And then we have the manifest. I almost want to... I wish I had like a little way of testing what happens. So for example, if I say offline, now I refresh, you see it immediately refreshes, but I don't know if I can tell the difference. So that's the sort of thing I'd like to know. PWA, tell difference between offline and online refresh. Like, is there a way for the PWA to tell the difference? Latest data access from the network. How to tell in JavaScript. To check whether it's refresh online, use the navigator online property for the current state and listen for online offline events. So there is a navigator dot on capital L on online. Really? So it says true, even though it's supposed to be offline. Navigator, whoops, is true even when DevTools are in offline mode. So that's already broken. You see, that's the problem. I don't get very far before I find out that stuff doesn't work the way it's supposed to do. It's still true. You just said online false doesn't work, but you can completely override the online property. Shortly offline it still shows them as true. You want test offline of our web, but I'm checking the devices online or offline can call different functions, the no ajax calls, etc. You can check offline behavior with Chrome without disconnecting the machine. You still need the connection for other services. Yeah. Online is online. Is online. Window add listener. Okay, so let's add a few of these things in here. Let's do this and let's save this as just gonna create script.js here, and then we're going to I forget everything. We'll just do that. Script.js. Like if I do this and then refresh that. Okay, see, it doesn't call script.js here. Now if we go back to online, it still doesn't. See, that's a bit of a problem. So if I look at this, this isn't in here. So PWA, how to load changed HTML file. So this is kind of the problem. Best way to do is to request the service work and then handle request failures to serve. And the thing is, the requests aren't the problem. So DokuPad doesn't make any requests. So I don't need to do any of that. Like so DokuPad doesn't make requests. It's a single page thing and it doesn't make any requests. I mean, it does the one request to load the puzzle, but that's only once. We can abstract that away. So I just need the rest to work. The stuff that shouldn't change at all between online and offline, right? I just need the browser to not like poop his pants. Like, how can you prompt the user to update when you don't when you can't update the code? Like, building around and the page for sometimes deploy change the back end and front end at the same time. I need the browser session to start running the new version, or at least those sessions start. Got a basic idea correct. Why your index is not updated is a tough question. I'm not providing code. Please include your service worker code. The thing is, why do I need a service worker? What exactly does the service worker do here? Everybody says, what does your you need a service worker. Okay, what for? Don't provide service worker code because there's no caching logic in there. I decided to add those meta tags and to print caching. HTML page. Okay. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the service worker here, since I don't need to do service work. So, fetch from cache. So it's okay. Wait a second. Okay, so this looks like I've been looking into this already, anyways. So init cache, fetch from cache. So if I refresh this, right? Service worker, navigator.service worker, which is, where is that? Navigator.service worker, line 15. Oh, it's here. Okay, let's move this into script.js. So if I do this here, like that, get rid of that, boom. Now, if I say empty cache and hard reload, script.js service worker, register. So we're registering the service worker. Now, if I refresh, we're just hitting this file again. So the service worker gets reloaded, but we're not actually loading any new files. Is that what they're saying? Because if I clear this and I refresh, it still says I'm hitting the server, right? And the server says, wait, it says, I think, what the hell? Oh, this is line wrapping here. So the server says what exactly? Inform. Post inform air control agent error. Okay, I need to get rid of that noise as well. Air control packet sees unified controller. All right, I think we want to move away from 8080 because 8080 is noisy with garbage. So let's move to a different port. 9200. How about 9200? Dash P 9200. Right. And then we go, wait, if I refresh this now, you see it's still there, even though the server doesn't exist anymore. All right, let's go to a different one. Okay, now I don't have that noise anymore. So when I refresh this, sometimes it hits something here. So we've got to get service worker. And then eventually it loads it. This is so strange. I almost wish I could modify this file at will so I can see how many versions I'm missing here. Like to know when it's updating, right? I'm almost tempted to write my own little HTTP server just so I can have different versions of these files coming through. So if I say, okay, so if I say something like const version equals, or put inside the closure, sure, why not? Here's equals 0.1. build equals 1. And then we'll just do this. Right? So if I now refresh that, it doesn't do that. And if I do this, it does that. Okay, so at least we can update that number. And we'll probably do something like that up here. For now. Okay, so if I'm pressing F5, it outputs script.js. And if I press Control F5, it outputs this. But if I press F5, it does this. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's actually still, like I can reload it and it still pulls things from cache. Wow. Okay, that's weird. So I need to now basically figure out the whole invalidating the cache and all that stuff. Fetch from cache. Now, in a cache, fetch from cache. Refreshing true, Windows reload. It's not refreshing. So, controller change, register, refreshing false. If service worker in navigator, register service worker. So we have a service, wait. So if I press Control F5, navigator service worker is this. Then register gets executed here. Refreshing is false. And then, if service worker in navigator. All right. Function handle controller change. Args. Console.log. Something like that. And then this goes into that. And then we'll just put that on here. Something like that. After argument list. 64. Script.js 2264. What? Script.js line 22. Now, how do I refresh the cache? PWA, how to invalidate cache. Ah, wait, it's probably here. So there's probably cache storage here. If I do that and then refresh, missing after argument after index 22. The problem is there is no index 22. Oh, it's script.js. Okay, 22. I removed a brace here. Okay. So even if the file fails, it still caches it. Well, I guess because I'm doing that. Service worker tab. Service worker tab. How do I add tabs? Right clicking doesn't do it, which is what I would expect. Service worker. Service worker. With the worker panel under DevTools, the application tab to in the application tab. Oh, so we're looking at background. Do we service workers? Offline server, offline upload on reload, bypass or network. Running, okay. All right, I don't fully understand yet what all these things mean. But it looks like we've updated this thing. That loads the files, but it doesn't necessarily update the cache, right? So I need to now figure out, so fetch from cache. So I need to now basically in the service worker figure out how to determine if cache needs updating. Because let's clear the cache. If I clear these from the cache, right? And I clear this, and I clear this, and then I press Control F5. We get a service worker register. Fetch from cache. Caches match records. Fetch from cache. There is no put into cache. Interesting. So, controller change. Self install handle PWA install. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean this up where the cache thingy was. Second item list where the cache thingy was. Yeah, the problem is I haven't gotten my head around yet how exactly what happens, how it works. For example, handle control change refreshing. Yeah, so refreshing handle controller change. If refreshing, if not refreshing, refreshing true. So that needs to be a global variable here. Okay, I'll reload this. So we have fetch events. Okay, so let's look back at our API docs here. Cache. The cache interface provides a persistent storage method for request response with object pairs that are cached in long-lived memory. However, how long a cache object lives in browse dependent, but a single origin script can typically rely on the presence of a previously populated cache object. Note that the cache interface is exposed to Windows scopes as well as workers. You don't have to use it in conjunction with the service workers, even though it is defined in the service worker specs. Okay. So maybe I can get through. I don't even need the service. I don't know what the purpose of the service worker is. Finding the service worker doesn't add all for the static files. Line 22 in the service worker. Ah. Init cache. Okay, so that's why I didn't see it, because it didn't match the thing. All right, so I'm going to change this to SW, and then this is going to be init cache, and I'm going to change this to using the function syntax, because times have changed, and I like to change my syntax usage from time to time to keep me on my toes and to make myself more confused. Wait, did that have a variable? Nope. Okay. I'm guessing this, exactly what I'm doing right now, I did with this code. It was just so long ago that I forgot about it. And then I didn't really keep up. Okay. Fetch from cache. W handle PW install. Now, these are event handlers. Handle PWA fetch. So I'm gonna put that in here because this is kind of what I was asking earlier. Controller change. Okay. And then up here, we have init cache, fetch from cache, init cache. Something like that. All right. So I guess we'll go back to here. Boom. So what am I seeing now? I saw a bunch of things and then a second set of things, and that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous. It's like it did 2 reloads. Is it gonna reload again? Because I don't see why it should. So, PWA fetch. So here we didn't get a... We didn't hit the init cache at all. So, PWA fetch. Fetch from cache. Activate. Did we see activate? Fetch. Fetch from cache. Fetch from cache. Handling a fetch from cache. So, I want to see the fetch from cache does this. Caching new resources. Okay, so this is a cache on demand kind of thing, right? So, fetch from cache, init cache, cache all, cache data. So I don't know when init cache gets called. It's supposed to be on the install. Okay. Fetch from cache. All right, so let's do this. We'll say write to cache. That's not async. I don't think this is async. Okay. So we say request response. And then it's just gonna be write to cache. And then we're gonna put request.url. We'll make it JSON stringify. You know what? We'll do it this way. We'll do %s. Right? And then response response.clone. Response or const cached response dot clone. Right. I'm not gonna do that here. I'm just gonna do that here briefly because I want to see what's going on. I'm gonna put that here, but we're gonna comment it out for now. And then you're gonna say we're gonna say write to cache request response, something like that. And then do that. And it did multiple reloads here, and I need to figure out what's causing that. So for a second, let's enable preserve log. It's going to be a little bit of pain in the ass. Cache is not defined. Cache.put. Ah. Okay, so that's why they're all async. I feel like, do I have to do this over and over and over? Caches.delete clear cache. Clear cache. Handle PWA activate. It feels like we want to have a global reference for the cache. So we want to have something like, and later on this should be wrapped in a class or whatever. Because the service worker changed it, loaded the cache set, then reloaded and updated. Ah, I see. Async function get cache name, and then const caches. Wait, where does caches come from? Is caches just global? Caches. Seems to be just global. In fact, I'm outputting caches here a couple of times. It's not defined. Cached. Alright, caches. What is caches? Can we finally use this? Caches. Window.caches. Okay. The cache's read-only property of the window interface returns the cache storage object as the current context. This object enables functional search rep. The following shows should I cache the response from window.cache.open, because it feels like since it's async, I should cache that. Yes, you should selectively cache responses using the cache API. And the data specific, such as improving Gemini, you misunderstood me. Let's see if it'll figure it out, or if I have to. But you should cache the response object themselves that you get back. There's no. Open returns a promise that resolves to a cache object. You do not cache this object. You use it to cache other things. Like, okay. All right, so we don't wanna do that. Now, cache name, caches.open, cache name. Where does cache name come from? Open cache name. Like, where does cache name come from? Oh, it's up here. Okay. Okay, cache name. Okay, so we just really kind of want to do that. Really need to do that. And then we want to do that here ahead of the caches.put. Okay. Don't need to do that here. Oh. Okay. So, if I do this, cache is not defined. Yeah, we don't need that. Cache is not defined. 31. Okay. The problem is it's pulling it out of the cache where bad code lives, but it's telling me the cache is empty. Okay, that's confusing. So now we're here. We clearly wrote things in the cache, but we didn't execute this code, which is strange. Okay, let's clear that and reload. Okay, that's not working. Fetch from cache. So it's hitting script 1, but apparently it's not hitting this even, which is clearly stupid and not true. Clone and response body is already used. Response.clone. I think I might have to pass response.clone through here. I don't think. Oh, because no, it's just because you can only do it once. I think I can do this if I then use cached response here. So if we delete all of this, clear this, and then Control F5, multiple times, and then F5. So Control F5 didn't recache the things. Okay, what the hell is going on? Control F5 should do what F5 does, shouldn't it? So this is really annoying. So we loaded index.html. So if I say console.warn index.html, so I'm guessing this will run. Then script.js gets loaded. But service worker doesn't seem to get loaded. Why does it not load service worker? This doesn't make sense to me. So if I delete everything in the cache and then go here. Okay, if I delete everything in the cache, clear this and Control F5. CTRL plus F5 does not load service worker. Why does it not load the service worker? Which is intended to reload the page and its assets from the network, bypassing the standard browser. However, service workers operate outside the normal browser cache mechanism. The Control F5 command does not force them to update immediately. Why does not load a new service worker? Separate files have a distinct lifecycle. Installing, activating, running in the background. A service worker once active controls the page and continues running until the tab or all relevant tabs are closed. The browser avoids swapping out an active service worker while the page is controlled still open to prevent code inconsistency errors, breaking the app's client-side data. Is null when you perform a hard refresh. The current page load is made without the controller service worker, and this navigator service worker controller property may return null. The next normal page load will then pick up the new service worker, but the current one won't. Open your browser developer tools. Go to the application navigator server. No, for users in production. Close and reopen all. Okay. How to detect Control F5 in a service worker and refresh service worker. Like, you have to be able to. That's so stupid that F5 is more refreshy than Control F5. Control F5 keyboard shortcut because a hard reload is a browser level instruction that caused the browser to completely bypass the service worker's fetch event handler. However, you can implement client-side logic to detect that the service worker was bypassed and then force a full page reload. So then you. Okay, how? How? The code itself. Oh, Jesus Christ. That doesn't seem to have anything. Seriously? Are you freaking kidding me? This is so wrong. It's not even funny. All right, let's see. Reloaded after hard refresh. Crow, for example, the server is unable to register afterwards. According to the navigator service or controller returns now the request is a forced refresh. So navigator.service worker dot controller. So if we reload this, if we delete all this and then we control F5. Okay, so if the no. If the So the request is really impossible to register a service worker right after the hard refresh is performed. I'm checking the existence of the service worker with now. Okay, so if this is null, we have to basically then simulate like a regular reload. Try click on the browser refresh icon. Service worker seems pretty hard to prevent the hard, but I don't want to prevent it. I want to follow it. I want to make it work. There's an active, but no controller for this. Get the registration. If service worker navigator. So it says register, but I guess it doesn't care. If I do, this should be an async. Async, right? So we should say let reg equals await console.log reg. If I do this, right? Reload that, delete all of these, clear that, control F5. Service worker installing null, waiting null, active service worker. Why do these properties not show here? And then not all of them showing? Like, I expect to expand this when I click it, but then it doesn't show me the things that it's showing me here. This is also a bit stupid. Now, if I press F5 at this point, what exactly happens? Null, waiting null. So I guess I can kill the service worker with what you said earlier. There's supposed to be a service worker here. So I should be able to stop this one, right? Yeah, stop. Clear. Delete all the cache stuff. If I do control F5 now, installing, waiting. Do I have to catch errors here? Because I don't know what's going on here. But if I do this and then this, it's going to tell me different things. Clear, control F5. Registration 1, registration 2. Now, how do I know if these are the same or different? Like, service worker registration. Service worker registration. So what are the properties on this thing? Active, background fetch, index, right runs are the content is installing. So we kind of want to do something like reg dot can I just do this because I'm lazy? Can I just do this? And then I can just say reg, and then reg dot active, reg dot installing. Is there anything else I wanna output here? Reg dot waiting. Reg dot sync. What is that? Returns a sync which manages background synchronization. Scope returns string URL. Okay, scope might be interesting as well. Reg dot scope. Now I don't know if any of these are unique identifiers, but we'll find out. So if we now clear this and then control F5, what happens? So it's doing it twice. Wait, the thing is, this one, at this point, we haven't registered anything. That shouldn't be returning a registration. If I do this, actually, we don't even care about that at the moment. Installing state activated. How is it activated when we're stopping it? Ah, wait, it's still unregistered. Here we go. So now if I do this, undefined, cannot read property of undefined reading active. So if reg will do that. Right. Unregister, kill, boom. So reg undefined, service worker. So even at this point, this is still undefined. Handle controller change. Does handle controller change ever happen? So register. If I go to the service work API dot register service worker container. I guess service worker might be of type service worker container. So this is of type service worker container, which should have a register method. Okay. Scope, blah, blah, blah. This uses URL, type, specify type, classic module, update via cache, all, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then, so this is, so we can say let res equals await, and then we can output res, which stands for result. Nothing sinister going on. Unregister, clear, control F5. So what are we looking at now? Result, service worker. Then the first reg is undefined. The second, so now, okay, because now we're awaiting it. Now the question is the onController change event. You know what? Actually, I think we can do that before. And I'd like to know what other events there are. So service worker container. What events here? Controller change, message error. When income message received by service container object, post message. Okay, no, that's fine. We're not doing that at the moment. So if we're going back to here now, we unregister this, we clear all of that, and we clear this, and then we control F5. What happens? Reg is undefined. Res is our service worker registration, which probably matches this after the fact. Now, at this point, the files are cached. If I press Control F5, what happens? We hit this, and all of these registrations come back. So we can check if we have a registration at this point. Now, obviously, I don't want to reload the service worker or uninstall the service worker or whatever when we're in offline mode. But right now, I just want to get a handle on it, make sure that I fully understand what's happening and have full control over everything that's going on, right? So we want to be able to remove us. We want to have an unregister, basically. Okay. So PWR, how to unregister a service or update it. programmatically. Get registration, unregister. Get registrations. So the controller should be null on a control F5. Now, if I do just a regular F5, controller is not null. And if I do a control F5, it is null. Okay, so let's try this. If equals null, console.warn log clear registration. If I do this, refresh here, control F5, clear registration. Okay, so we eventually want to wrap all these things as well. So to clear the registration, we first need to get the registration, or we need to get all. So const regs equals get registrations, console.log regs. So if I do control F5, that should get us a registration, and then that registration we should be able to unregister. All right, so async function clear registrations. Right. So for const reg off, await reg dot unregister. Now is unregister a async function? Get registration. So get registration returns a registration object. What is the difference between a registration and a container? Interface presents a service worker registration. You register service worker to control one or more pages to share the same origin. Lifetime of service worker registration is beyond that of the service worker registration. Oh. The browser maintains the persistence of active registration objects. Active, read only, blah, blah, blah. Waiting, update, get notification, update, unregistered. Returns a promise. In order to finish any ongoing operation before it is unregistered. Okay, so what is the value of the promise? It's a boolean. Okay, so let res equals log unregister res. Right. So then here we'll do first of all console.warn clear registrations. So we don't have to do that. So await clear registrations. And then we'll do regs. And then we'll do it before and after. So if I clear this and I press Ctrl F5, yep, that should do. So unregister, clear registration, unregister as true. And now nothing. All right, now if I do a F5, okay, if I do a Control F5, it does that, and then it should restart init cache here. Okay. So we didn't have to do this fake window reload because we just removed the registrations. Okay, so we know how to remove registration. So we kind of built up a little bit of a toolkit of here of how this works. So we'll do clear registrations. Clear registrations. Console.log registrations regs.count .length. Boom. We don't need any of that. Can I just assign this once? Can I just say const like that, and then just we don't have to do that all the time. So if controller is not equals to null, we'll do clear registrations. Don't care about that now. Don't care about that. All right. Handle controller change. When does that happen? So if we look at the service worker controller and we look at the events, this. Handle controller change. The controller change event of the service worker control interface fires when the document associated service worker registration acquires a new active worker. So I'm guessing this should trigger it. So let's find out. Register service worker.js. Cached assets, sure. Probably don't want to output that at the moment. Clear registrations. Service worker. Don't really need that either. If service worker in navigator. We kind of have to presume that. So if not service worker navigator, throw new error. Service worker not supported. Then we don't need that. Service worker not supported. If service worker.control is null, await clear registration, then we can do this. And we call the register here. Like that. So, if I now control F5, this. Do we ever get a handle controller change here? I don't see it. If I press F5, I'm not seeing that happening. So, I guess the reason it's not happening is because the page where the event handler exists, that's the page that gets removed. And then it never actually happens in the new page. Now, the question is, would it happen if I do it before the clear registrations? So, if I put that here, right? So, if I do this now, all right, do a control F5. I clear it again, do a control F5. F5. Service worker. Navigator.service worker. Wait, where does that get output? 18. Okay, so we're in cache hell right now. Control F5. Control F5. We have a service worker register. But where is the handle controller change? Fetch from cache service worker handle. Register. Register. Now, why would it do a register though? If server control is null. I feel like we don't necessarily always need to register a new service worker. Sometimes we might just want to get the existing registration. So if I just press F5 here, service worker.reg, because it's cached. Control F5. F5. So service worker controller. So why would we want to register a new one here instead of get the existing registration? The controller is what? Controller. A service worker object if its state is activating or activated or null if there's no active worker. Also returns null if the request force reach. So if we do get registrations afterwards, does that change around register? So if I do this here, and then this here, right? And then we clear the cache again manually, like for the millionth time until I make some little command that makes that easier. So registrations 1, unregistered true, register 0. Okay, so if I do this, registrations 1, registrations 1. So service worker registration register server.register register.res is service registration. Hey guys. So okay, so it doesn't create a new registration. So register is, I don't have to manually do a get register. It does it automatically, basically. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to check, because I was basically thinking like, okay, if controller is not equal to null, basically should I do just a get registration? So let's check something. If I do this, can I then say res equals register 0? It could be a different kind of object, but that's what I'm checking for here. So once again, clear the thing, F5, clear F5, true, control F5, also, oh, false. Because because I'm guessing registrations were 0 at that point, because we actually killed it and restarted it. Okay, all right. I'm starting to get a little bit of a idea of what's going on. So I think what I need to do now is I need to move away from pressing Control F5. I'm going to put buttons on the page, and then I'm going to try to 100% perfectly control, what's it called? Input group? HTML input group. What was it called? Input in HTML, pure HTML input group. There's a thing called like input frame or whatever. Pure HTML. Oh, pure HTML. What's field set? That's it. Thank you. Field set, right? So we're gonna have a button. And then we're gonna here say something like, I don't know. Let's say clear cache. Right. Equals btn or yeah. ID equals btn clear cache. So if I do this, into control 5, yes. Can you reduce the noise, please? Can you just pull it out a bit? Can you do just? Well, you could just with one hand. Thank you. Sorry guys. 1 second. So I want to now. So I have a couple of these things. So we need a little bit of an output with information about what's going on. Because I wonder, maybe we don't want to like willy-nilly instantly register a service worker, right? Maybe we want to do that deliberately via a bunch of buttons. If I do this, right, clear. If I do all of this, clear that, control F5. So the service worker still executes even without the registration. What exactly is the registration for then? What is a registration for? What does a register even do? Register with the method observer interface creates or updates the service registration of the given scope. If successful, the registration associates provide a script URL to a scope, which is subsequently used for matching documents to specific service workers. You see, this is one thing I don't like about it. Says what the registration does, but if you don't know what a registration is, it doesn't really help you at all, because it doesn't tell you what a registration is for. Why does it exist, right? Because if I look at this, service workers, right, and I unregister, we don't have a registration call in here, right? So if I now refresh this, if I clear this, refresh. That's something else. Now it doesn't. Okay. 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 So if I do something like this, and then I'll say something like ID equals or text area. Right. Rows equals 10. Calls equals 30. Equals 80. Isn't that like traditional terminal size, right? And then we'll just say ID equals logout. Output. Output. Log. All right. So here we're just gonna say we're gonna have a function async. Actually, I think I want to have these outside of this try thing. So here we're gonna have async function show registrations. Right. So we'll just say document.query selector, and I'll probably streamline this in just like a second. Dot text dot content plus equals okay, so we do want to get the registrations, right? Now before we do that, we need to actually figure out what a registration consists. Like, what do I want to log about a registration? Is there something that identifies it? So for the buttons, we'll probably button show registrations. Right. Can I use I was gonna say, can I use dollar? Probably can. Can I just do a can I just do a const dollar equals or I just do that. And then I can just do this. btn show regs. btn show regs query selector. Why would that not work? ID. So somehow we're still getting cached. Do not save this. Okay, we have a button here. Button ID is blah blah blah. Can I just get that button? Somehow I can. Ah, because script doesn't. Okay. I see. All right. So, document dot add event listener DOM content ready. Handle DOM content ready. Function. Console the log. Application. No, it's not cached. Add event listen window. Is it on the window? Nope. What am I missing? DOM content loaded. That's what I'm missing. I'm missing correctness. Let's call it something slightly more friendly. So, these things now should work. Okay. Hey. All right. Dot add event listener. Show reservations. I guess. My God, I'm really going back to basics here. On event target. Wait, what? Failed to execute. Is that not returning the button? Failed to execute add event listener on event target. 2 arguments required, but only 1 present. Add event listener. Oh. Click. All right. Excuse me. All right. So we're just gonna do this. And it's gonna be regs.length registrations n. So if I do this, press this, zero registrations, zero registrations. And we'll probably just do it this way. Okay. Step 2, I guess. I'm just gonna hide this for now. And then register worker. Service worker. So, same thing. In here on blah blah blah. Register worker. Right. And the register worker call happens like this. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Register worker. URL. And up here somewhere it'll say boom. Worker URL. Right. So, register worker. Registrations. Cool. Cool. Now, each registration has something in here, some information. So we'll probably want to get that script URL out of there. Right. So regs.map reg.active.script URL. Right. So we really want to do this. Plus, that's our thingamajigs, our URLs. Dot join. We want to join it with a line break and some spatting, some padding, and we actually want to have some padding up front here too. Right. So no. We want to join these with line breaks, and we have the spaces in front of these. Oh, yeah, this only if this. That's annoying. All right, tell you what, we'll just do this. Instead. And then we'll just join it like that. Undefined. Regs.map undefined. So we have regs. We have regs.map reg.active. We are looking at the cache stuff. So I gotta go in here, do that, Control F5, clear that, do that. Show registrations. Service worker dot script URL, all caps, because why not, right? Why not? Do this, boom, boom, register worker, show registration. Okay, so that gives us the registration. So now we can do clear registrations, right? So we can do, not that button, register worker, clear registrations. clear regs. Now, clear regs, just gonna clear all the registrations. And we're just gonna build up our little primitives here, and then eventually we'll have buttons like reload, clear cache, refresh cache, refresh cache. But if it fails, don't, like we want to be able to try to refresh without breaking the site if the internet is not available or if it's partially available, whatever, right? That, for example, that might be tricky. Like, what if we download 1 or 2 files and they're version incompatible with the rest of the files? Can we download a bunch of files, make sure they're all available before we replace everything in memory? Obviously, having a single file page update would be helpful here. Now, registrations clearly do execute whatever's in the service worker, so we're gonna have to quieten that in a minute. But we're gonna add this. Now we have clear registrations. And then we can just execute that here. Now, we probably want to make little handlers for all of these. Yeah. So I'm actually going to write these handlers out because each of them will... These are our primitive operations, right? So we're going to say handle show regs, which is an event handler. And it's going to currently just execute show registrations. So far so good. But we're actually going to await that. And then we're going to do something similar for handle register SW. And then right now, it's going to do this. Right, that's what it's doing right now. But we actually want to do show registrations right after. So that's this one. Right, and then we want to do handle clear registrations. Right, and that's going to be clear registrations and then show registrations. So that's this one. So once again, do all of this, clear, clear, boom. Show registrations, clear registrations. Register worker, clear registrations. Okay. And I think similarly, we want to be able to control what happens in here. So the whole caching shouldn't just immediately happen, right? Event handle PWA fetch. So I'm guessing I'm not actually forcing these fetches. So if I say register worker, so if I clear all of this, right? Say clear registrations. If I now look at this, unregistered is not available. That's weird. So nothing in the cache, right? Redundant is weird. What does that mean? Now if I say show registration 0, register worker. So now we have a registration, but it also hits the whole cache thing. Cannot read properties. So why would we get registrations that end up being null? Init cache, service worker registration, 1415. 1415, show registrations. Then init cache. Why is cache at all happening here? What triggers the init cache? Init cache gets triggered by wait until init cache. Event PWA install. Handle PWA install. Now where does that come in from? Install. What triggers the install event? So service worker has an install event. Apparently. No. What is self? Self. Oh, what is self? Oh no. Service worker self. The use of this as a shared work content about self and other content. What should I use? Self is guaranteed to point to the service workload, which you can find properties such as clients, registrations, and caches. On the other hand, this obeys the same rules about dynamic binding as the rest of JavaScript. It does not matter always. You remember, does not matter always. You remember this, but my advice is to use self when you want to refer to the global context specifically. So, I'm guessing I can find. Why is all of this here? My God. The hell? Ah, here we go. Service worker. So I should be able to type in self and get that. And if I type in this, it's also that. Okay. So self is the global scope. So service worker global scope. Service worker global scope. Service worker global scope dot service worker. Can I find a reference to the? Yeah, here we go. Why is that ahead of this? Doesn't make sense. Okay. Install. When does install happen? What triggers install? Occurs when it requires a new install. What? The install event of the server is fired when a server registration acquires a new service installing worker. This event is called. What does that mean? You see, it says it, but what does it mean? Installing read-only property of a interface returns a service worker whose service worker state is installing. This property is initially set to null. So the registration causes the installation. But you see, I still don't fully get my head around what is this registration for? What does a service worker registration and installation mean? Service worker registration is the initial step where the browser is informed of the service worker's file location and begins tracking it, while installing is the subsequent phase where the browser downloads, parses, and executes the script to cache assets. These steps enable offline functionality and performance enhancement. But that doesn't make any sense. If the installation is the process of downloading, why is it an event firing on the service worker? The browser fires an install event, allowing developers to cache necessary assets using the cache API before the worker takes control. Handle PWA install. So handle PWA install. Okay, so boom. Handle PWA fetch. Handle PWA install. Handle install. Let's get rid of the PWA. That's just confusing me for some reason. I don't know why. Alright, so if I refresh this here, fetch from cache. Fetch from cache. Alright, let's stop pressing F5 because that confuses me also, because I don't actually know what that means, right? So let us have another field set. Reload page. Button. Reload page. If I do this, right? Button. Handle reload page. If I do this, handle reload page. So we need to do a couple of things here. We probably want to clear the cache. Actually, maybe we do want to clear the cache. So maybe we do want to do a clear cache button. Ooh, look at that. Finally, we get to the clear cache button. So we have a clear cache button. And then we'll do button clear cache. handle clear cache. Clear cache. So clear cache, handle clear cache. So at this point, we need to communicate with the service worker, right? So how to send a message to the service worker. So we don't really want to use registry here. Controller. Ah. Okay. So we want to do this. There's our controller post message. Now, is post message async? So controller. So service worker controlling the current page. Control read-only property on the service worker interface represents the active service worker controlling. So of what type is it though? Service, or if its state is active, there's no active worker. Okay. Didn't we output the controller here somewhere earlier? Yeah. So if service worker controller something like that, of 5, clear cache, handle clear cache. All right, unregister, clear all of this, clear this, control F5, clear cache, null. Show registrations, register worker, clear cache. Handle install is not defined. Wait a second. Handle install is not defined. Register worker. Handle P controller page. Handle controller change. Register worker. Cannot read properties of null script URL. Okay, that's sure. Clear cache. And server controller null. Wait. Why is it null? So if I say register worker, clear cache. Okay, so we do have a controller. So now in the service worker, we should be able to listen. We should be listening to messages. Message. So let's do that. Oop. No. No. Duplicate. Yeesh. Message. Handle. Message. Massage. So, oh, we're so close to not having to do this manually anymore. So, register worker, clear cache. Clear registration. Register worker, show registration, clear cache. Refresh, clear cache. So, the register worker somehow doesn't set up the controller, which is weird. Handle message. Extended message event is trusted data. All right. So action, clear cache. So if I just do this, I hate this like multiple levels of data. That you add a data object to something that's a data object at a higher level, and then it's just data all the frickin' way down. Action. Switch. Data colon. Oh. Action. Case. It's almost 9 o'clock. I should stop the stream soon so we can make dinner. Case. Clear cache. Clear cache. Yeah, the Switch doesn't have the bracket syntax, is a bit annoying. Now, why do we get cache stuff when I do an F5 refresh? I don't think I'm explicitly registering the service worker, so just loading it does something, but I'm still not fully understanding. Server, did I not use the question marks? Optional property chaining syntax. Should the question mark be on this side? Data.action. Unexpected token. Clear cache. Show registration. Clear cache. Clear cache. And I'll clear cache. Clear cache. So, clear cache doesn't seem to work. Huh. Why not? Is it maybe it doesn't work? Caches dot delete. Caches key. Yeah, it's true. If key equals. Wait, what? If key equals cache name, continue. That doesn't clear our cache. It clears. I guess, okay, originally this was probably designed to clear previous versions of the cache. I'm guessing this isn't used anywhere. Wait until clear cache handle activate. Alright, I'm gonna rename this to cleanse cache. Cleanse cache. Because basically it removes all the prior cache elements. And then I'll have a new one which clears the current cache. So the caches interface. If I go to this and then I look for caches. Caches. Creates and returns the cache storage. We have has open. Returns the browser resolves to the cache option measure cache name. Okay, so cache object, okay. Match, put, add all, delete keys. Okay, so clear cache. So we'll do caches dot open name let cache or const cache equals cache name cache equals caches dot open cache name. Await. And then cache dot keys. And then we're just not going to do anything for now. And then here, just do this. Right? Right, everybody? Clear cache. Hey, look at that. And then with each of these items, we can do delete. Request. The keys are requests. Ah, shit. Is the request, and if found, deletes the cache and returns. Okay, so we can just do cache.delete key. And then caches.key afterwards. Actually, no, we'll just do a cache.delete. That's how the cache interface finds the cache entry, deletes the key and returns a promise that resolves to true if no cache entry is found, or resolves to false. So if I do await here, I mean, what I can do is I can probably delete the specific cache, right? But it's a good exercise to have full control, because in the future maybe we want to only delete certain files, right? Let's say clear cache now. But I had to press it twice. No. Works. I think this works. Okay. So clear cache, reload. Clear cache, reload. Now, if I do reload, what is the refreshing supposed to do? I forgot. I don't remember what the refreshing did. So we don't get to an infinite loop. All right. So we have reload page. If I do this, right, and I say reload page, window, okay, clear cache, reload. Now it reloads, but doesn't actually reload, right? So if I now say handle reload 2, and I press reload here, it will never say handle reload 2. Or if I say build is 2, reload, it still stays on 1. Right. But if I now let's do this. Where's our reload? If we now say clear cache, handle clear cache. I don't know if there's a way of waiting. I guess I'd have to send a message back when it's done. And I've done this interface with the SudokuPad API, so I might have to implement an async interface so you can await on these things, right? So for now, we're just going to execute handle clear cache. No, we're going to have a function called clear cache. First of all, clear cache. Right. Then that's going to be this. But actually what we're going to have a function is we're going to have send message MSG right? And that's really what this is gonna be. And then here, clear cache is gonna be send message action blah blah blah. And then this is gonna be message. And then here we're just gonna say clear cache. And for now we're gonna do await, but knowing that that currently doesn't do it. I don't think I need clear cache here as a separate function. In the future, maybe. So, and action clear cache. Because now we can do this, and then we can do a full-on. I can do clear cache, refresh, reload page. Yeah, so this is not quite right, but it could be the timing. I gotta do that. I gotta fix that. And I still, man, the fact that... Yeah, I'm gonna have to add some sleep stuff and kind of take full control over this process. Because I want to be able to refresh this. I want to give the user a button where they can say, check for new version. I want my code to be able to check, right? I want my code to be able to say, okay, the last time we checked with the server was more than an hour ago. Let's check if we have internet. No, we don't. Oh, yes, we do. Okay, let's see if we can get all the files. If we can get all the files, we'll do a local update. Or we'll tell the user, new version is available. Do they want to update? You know, that kind of thing. It is a little micromanagey, but obviously we can all wrap that up. And I wonder if there's a nice PWA framework out there. Especially if Safari works differently. How good is PWA support in Safari? And I'm a little worried about doing this search. Not negligence. Ugh. Safari's progressive web application is functionally but limited compared to Android, often creating a less than ideal user experience due to restrictive, deliberate design choices. While supporting core technologies like service workers, offline capable push notifications, Safari lacks advanced hardware access, Bluetooth, NFC, and because are hidden, add to home screen process. Support Safari areas include installation and usage. Users must manually add apps to the home screen via the share menu. Once added, they run in standalone windows. Basic mode doesn't support. Key features supported: service workers, cache API notifications, and web app manifests. Limitations: poor push notification integration. This is often clunky and unreliable. Lack of hardware API access. No support for advanced hardware APIs like Bluetooth and NFC. Data persistence storage can be volatile. If a user does not visit a PW for several weeks, data might be purged. Yeah, that's the problem. How to explain to a user that, well, it's not up to me. Apple decided that you won't have access to your puzzles now. You know, it's unreliability is horrible here. No in-app install prompts. Cannot prompt installation directly in the browser UI. Require custom listen to these UI elements. What does that even mean? On Mac OS, suffers better PWA support, allowing users to add websites to the dock, which runs a separate resizable window. After briefly threatening to remove PWA in the EU, Digital Markets Act, Apple reversed this decision, so your filter remains in the EU. All right, well, at least probably for SudokuPad's purposes, it will probably work. Now, there's something here where clear cache doesn't always have full access to the worker, depending on what happened. Like, okay, here it works. Now, let's say if I press F5 and then I say clear cache. No, that still worked. All right. Registrations. So I want to probably, for the cache, have the same kind of display here. And take it from there. Because SudokuPad actually does manage a whole bunch of files. Although it's not necessarily very complex because all the files are doing the same thing, basically. Let's have a quick look. Like, if I look at this, and I go in here, and I do Control F5 refresh, right? It's 83 requests, most of which are local. And I might move, like, some of the font references stuff to be local as well. There's a couple of API calls, so I'll have to manage those. For the counter updates and stuff. It shouldn't be too crazy. All right, guys. it's getting late. This is it for me for today. Thanks for hanging out. And, well, I'm glad I looked into this in the past, but it was so long ago, and I didn't really... I feel I got further now, but it's definitely something I'm going to have to spend a bit more time on. All right. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for stopping by, Sam D. Keith. And that's it for today. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend.